So it appears that I owe you a bit of an explanation. When I encode these videos, they sometimes take a very long time to encode. So last night when I set up a video to encode, I set it to shut my computer down upon completion. And then this morning I went to encode this video that I just did, and I forgot to turn off shutdown. So it completed right as I was typing in the root password, and it gave me 60 seconds to finish what I was doing, and then it shut my computer down. So as you can see, I did get a chance to set the root password. I did not get a chance to create a user. So we're just going to use root for this demonstration purposes. That's perfectly fine. You can create users in Linux pretty easily. But we won't have to worry about that here. We're just going to use root. So it also works out pretty nicely because it did complete right as soon as I got back here. So we can dive right into the third video, which is to get Docker up and running. All right, so I'm going to hit reboot, pause this screen, and then as soon as the login screen comes back, we'll start recording again. All right. Okay, so I am back on the login screen here in Docker, and we are getting ready to get signed in here and get going. All right, so right off the bat, it wants to know the Docker login. Docker is the host name on this machine. The login, of course, since you saw I only was able to set the root account, we'll do root, type in my root password, and it brings me right in here to root@Docker. Just to get a lay of the land, let's check to make sure my IP address is right at that 197 IPADDR. I know you're thinking, wait, I thought it was ifconfig. Well, in CentOS 7, IPADDR. But the minimal install, this is what we use. Okay, and there it is, inet 10.10.20.97/24. Okay, cool. Looks like we are good to go. Just to verify, we have pingability. Looks good. Going around the world. Okay. Cool. All right. So to get started in CentOS, CentOS uses a repository, not a repository, excuse me, I should say a program called Yum. Yum is essentially the same thing as the Windows Store for Windows or the App Store for Macintosh, Apple, iOS devices. It's not that case for all distributions of Linux. For Ubuntu or Debian-based Linux systems, you would use something called aptitude, or maybe you've seen sudo apt-get. That's kind of what those distributions of Linux uses. But Red Hat, which is probably the biggest enterprise distribution of Linux, they kind of created their own sort of repositories and download tools. And CentOS is based off of Red Hat, so we use what's called Yum. So the first thing we have to do is download a couple utilities. Yum install will download and install some utilities that will allow us to tweak how Yum works. There's not a whole lot of work to actually do here, guys. I know it sounds like, wait, why are we doing all this? It's really not that bad. You can see I'm typing out this command here, lvm2. Hit go. So you can see it's doing the downloading and installing and determines the fastest mirrors. And look at all that. There goes wee. Okay, done. Complete. Right there at the very bottom. That command was, if I'll type it out for you one more time since that went a little fast, yum install -y yum -utils device -mapper -persistent -data space lvm2. Okay, yum install -y yum utils device mapper persistent data lvm2. This is installing 3 apps: yum utils device mapper persistent data lvm2. Okay, the next thing we want to do is configure Yum to be able to access the repository where all of the Docker downloads live. That is yum config manager --add repo, and then the URL https docker.com/linux/CentOS/docker-ce.repo. Cool. So what this does is it reaches out to this website and it basically gets a metadata or a list of all of the available installers, and it caches them locally so that we now can see when we go to install Docker, our Linux machine will go to that cache, look for Docker, and see where exactly it can go to download and install those packages. Some extra things that you don't necessarily have to do that I'm going to do anyways, just for flexibility and show you, is we don't have to just take the base Docker install. We can actually enable the ability to install the Community Edition Edge Edition, which has the sort of like the beta of Docker. And then I'm also going to enable the test version, which we're not going to install either, but I'm just showing you how to do it. Enable Docker CE test. All right, cool. All right, this is what we came here for. Yum, install Docker-CE for Community Edition. Go. Do I want to download this? Yep. One thing of note, guys, that yes, no, this is cap sensitive. Linux is cap sensitive pretty much everywhere. So it is a lowercase y, a capital N for no. So that download took a little bit longer than I was expecting, so I paused it and then restarted it once it was completed. Didn't want you to have to sit there and wait while we just download and install something, but it didn't prompt me for anything else. That Y was the last Y I had to hit, and now Docker is downloaded and installed on my machine. All right, so Docker's downloaded and installed. It's not running yet. You do have to launch the application, or at least start the service from running, and the way we do that is systemctl start Docker. This is starting the Docker service. Boop. And if we want the Docker service to start every time we start this operating system, systemctl enable Docker. This will give you a little bit created symlink. If you want to check the status of Docker, systemctl status Docker. And look at that green font active running. Cool. Woohoo! We're up and running. So, time to use Docker. Docker is based on the command line, and it is incredibly simple. Pretty much every Docker command begins with Docker. And if we want to search for an image, you just type Docker search. For instance, search Microsoft. Check it out. These are all of the Docker images I can pull. There's Windows Server Core. We already talked about that. There's SQL Server running on Linux. So if you want to spin up a SQL Server instance real quick, you can do that. You've got SQL Server Developer Edition running on Windows. You've got IIS and web servers in there. So much stuff here. The apps that I wanted to talk to you about and show you about that I think are really cool, especially running on Linux, OpenVAS. OpenVAS is a open source security network scanning tool. It is amazing. Let's do Docker search OpenVAS, VAS. And the image that I want to download and run is this Mike's Plane /OpenVAS. So what do we do? How do we download it? Docker, pull, and then the name of the image, Mike's Plane /OpenVAS. It's not small. You can see it's going to do about a gig of download because it's got so many security scans that it can do, guys. It will find everything. It can even place SIP phone calls just to test for SIP vulnerabilities. It's amazing. We will probably dive into OpenVAS a little bit more, but this is just showing you how to get it up and running in this video. So it is going to go through the download, extract, the pull process. Yeah. I could have issued a different command to just download it, install it, and run it immediately. That's not good training. We want to show you how to actually do the steps and get it running correctly. All right. Okay, we're back. That got done downloading. You can see downloaded newer image for Mike's Plane / OpenVAS latest. Remember in that first video I said if we don't specify which version we want to download, it's just going to automatically append latest and just download the latest version, latest stable version that's known to me. Okay, the other app that I wanted to show you, this one is going to be more for developers, but it is pretty cool. It's called Jenkins. Jenkins is an automation tool where developers can essentially upload their code and automatically deploy an application to a different container or workspace. It just makes their job and their life a lot easier. You should know about it because if they're just going around and spinning up containers all over the place or automatically just doing this stuff, you should know what the resource impacts are going to be. Okay, let's start over again with Docker search Jenkins. And you know what? We're just going to pull the official Jenkins Docker image. It's got 3,454 stars. You know that's going to be good. Docker pull Jenkins. Boop. There we go. And it's going to go through this whole process here. You know, if it does go a little slow again, we will certainly just pause the video and allow you to, you know, get some coffee, take a breather, and come back to it when it's done. All right, we'll come back to it when it's done. How about that? Finally, we have downloaded the 2 containers that we really wanted to take a look at today. It's time to spin them up and get them going. To do that, let's make sure they're there with Docker images. There they are. You can see Mike's Plane, OpenVAS, and Jenkins. To run OpenVAS, the command docker run. That's how you run any of these images that we have. But then you got to specify some parameters. The first one I'm going to say is run it in the background. Don't make me actively look at it. Don't take away my command prompt. D is for detached. P, this is that port forwarding. We're going to forward 443 from this host into the Docker container. OpenVAS also needs 9390. We're going to give this container a name so that we can call commands to it later, called OpenVAS. And then the very last part, this is part of the syntax, is you specify the image itself. Mike's Plane, OpenVAS. And once you got that little GUID, that means it's up and running. I can verify that it's up and running with Docker PS. There it is. Let's also start Jenkins up. Docker run D, you know what that is now. P, you know what that is now, 8080. So you can tell we're going to be communicating on 8080, right? And it also needs 50,000. Give it the name Jenkins so that we can call that later. And then the image is just called Jenkins, so it's going to run Jenkins. Cool. Those containers are up and running. We can't access them yet. Anyone remember why? Firewall. We need to open those ports on our host firewall. That is firewall command. The zone is public. The port, add port. Remember, those are hyphen zone. Hyphen add port equals. Let's start with 443 / TCP. And let's make this permanent. That means when this reboots, this port is going to stay open. Success. Let's open the rest of the ports. Firewall, command, zone equals public. Add port. That was 9390. TCP. Permanent. Firewall. Ooh, gotta type right. I've got this glove on for that pen that I'm using, and it really throws my typing off. If I'm not using the pen right now, shouldn't I take the glove off? I don't know. 8080 TCP. Permanent. And of course the last one, firewall command zone equals public, add port 50,000 TCP permanent. Okay, we do have to restart the firewall. Watch how quickly that takes place. Firewall command --, reload. And confirm one more time that our images are, or our Dockers are running. Yep, PS, they're running. If you wanted to see which images you have created but are offline, you would just hit -A. That would also show you all of the containers you've created but have been stopped as well. Okay, so they're up and running. Let's check it out. Remember that IP address one more time? Ooh, look at all these NATs that it's doing, right? Remember I was telling you about that? Well, this is it, ETH0197. That's where we want to go. Let's bring up trusty Chrome and go to 10.10.20.197. We're going to do this on 443 first. That's a good sign. And there's OpenVAS, just like that. I am communicating to OpenVAS. Default password is admin. First time you log into OpenVAS, it does take a little bit of time because it's building all the repositories. It's building a profile. So, bear with that. That's not the end of the world that you have to wait for the first time. The second or third time you log in, it's going to be super quick. Look at this. This is really cool. Yeah, don't worry about LastPass. We're not worried about LastPass right now. All right. And Jenkins, http://10.10.20.197:8080, right? Check that out. Unlock Jenkins. This is your first time using the administrator. You got to go get that initial password. You know what? If you are really interested in moving forward with Jenkins, let me show you this real quick. Remember we ran it in detached mode, that -D, so we didn't get to see the log output. The logs do contain that admin password, Docker logs ft, and then of course the name of the image. Look at that right there. Please use the following password to proceed to installation. There it is, this big ugly password. That's how you can get up and running. Control-C gets me out of that. Okay, that's it. You have officially gone through the whole process of getting containerization, Docker up and running in your environment. You have now deployed 2 applications, web-based applications. They are fast, they are responsive, because they are running in a very flexible Linux-based environment. So, I think this has been a fun video. I'm glad we went over it. I hope you guys found it informative. Get out there, try it for yourself.